Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Feels so funky. Feels so funky.
Hello everybody and welcome to Cinematic for the People. It's episode 2. The date of recording is the 9th of May 2018. I'm one of your hosts, Alan Kerr. I'm joined by my co-host Andrew Craddock.
Hello again, everyone.
Good week to you all. Good week, is that a greeting?
No, that is not an English greeting, but it's fine, it's fine.
I'm rolling with
you made
it.
it up, we're good.
The bulk of today's show will be discussing and reviewing the new Jason Reitman movie, Tully, another collaboration with Charlize Theron.
And writer Diablo Cody.
Yeah, what a name. What an awesome name that person has.
Yep, I don't know a lot about her except for she has the best name.
Well, later on we'll be looking at a little bit of news, talking about new releases, also I Feel Pretty, the new Amy Schumer comedy. Rampage, which Andy for some reason took it upon himself to see 3 or 4 weeks after it came out.
After the hype train had died down.
Mary and the Witch's Flower and The Strangers Pray at Night. But before we get to that, let's jump into the main course, as it were. Tully. Andrew, what is Tully about?
So, the synopsis on Letterboxd says, Marlo, a mother of 3 including a newborn, is gifted a night nanny by her brother. Hesitant to the extravagance at first, Marlo comes to form a bond with the thoughtful, surprising, and sometimes challenging nanny named Tully.
No.
Do you know what a night nanny is? They take care of the baby at night so mom and dad can get some sleep.
I don't want a stranger in my house. It's like a Lifetime movie where the nanny tries to kill the family and the mom survives and she has to walk with a cane at the end.
Get over yourself.
Mom, what's wrong with your body?
Now, I wouldn't say we have massively differing opinions on this, but you liked it considerably more than I did.
I think so. I haven't really, I deliberately didn't want to read too much into your review. I saw your star rating on Letterboxd.
So I gave it a 3 and you gave it a 5.
I
big old 5.
Absolutely loved it, man.
So like you say, the story is Charlize Theron plays a new mother. She has 2 kids already, and she's about to give birth to her 3rd. Yeah, and it's kind of all about her stressful life and dealing with 2 kids. One of whom has a kind of it goes through the film. It goes undiagnosed. He's referred to as quirky and strange and out of the box. He seems to have be somewhere on the autistic spectrum, maybe.
Yeah,
he's a challenging child to raise.
The film doesn't take an overly simplistic look at that. It kind of leaves it ambiguous, I should say, and questions a few of the things about how quick people are to diagnose kids who are quote unquote quirky.
Yeah, but we'll get to more of that later. Sure. But it's about her, having her 3rd kid and just how stressful that can be, and I guess the major theme of it is her wanting, kind of reminiscing about the things she no longer has in life because she has so many commitments and such a packed life with these 3 kids and with her husband and stuff.
Sure, I think in terms of just the basic kind of plot synopsis of the film, it really does just follow her from about to give birth to child number 3. We can tell that she's, struggling to cope as it is. The film goes on a little and she does give birth to child number 3 and she's hesitant to hire this night nanny.
Which, if you're not aware of what that is, it's exactly what it sounds. It's a woman who comes during the night to look after your kids so that you don't have to be up all hours.
Yeah, look after a baby because it's those first few months of having a newborn where you're basically zombified because a newborn doesn't sleep through the night. It'll just, he or she will be waking up looking for feeding, just looking for attention. So the idea being, you go to your bed at 10:30, the night nanny will wake you up at some point when the kid needs some feeding, and otherwise the night nanny will just be looking after the baby and will be gone in the morning. It is a real thing. It's something
I'll
that
take your word for
apparently is a real thing with a lot of richer couples, particularly in America. So
as you
this
say,
is
she's gifted this by her much more kind of well-off and together brother.
yeah, and then there's this hesitance to take it. She then eventually decides she is going to take him up on this offer. We're introduced to the night nanny, who's this kind of another quirky character, certainly.
The titular Tully.
Yeah, and the film from there really shows the sort of you're following Charlize Theron's Marlowe character as she sort of recovers from like the stress of having this third kid and the positive benefits that this night nanny has on the whole family's lives. And yeah, from there we can go into some stuff in the spoilers section after. But that's essentially the plot of the movie.
Kind of like a modern indie Mary Poppins almost.
Yeah, man, there's definitely some parallels to be made, particularly with some of the dialogue between her and Tully towards the end of the film.
And just the whole kind of strange characterization of Tully, how she just kind of appears and she's a bit of a weirdo.
She essentially does just float in and out the window, right? Yeah, like and certainly when Charlize Theron comes down the stairs after that first night, the house has been cleaned. It's pristine. I think they use the line, it's like she took 3 years worth of dirt off the floors. So she comes down the stairs, but Tully is gone. Tully is sort of, we're told that ahead of time. The night nanny will come, we'll look after the kid, and then we'll be away, and you won't even know she's been there. So there is that kind of, sneaking in and out of the house, unbeknownst to, where she's going after that. And I think Charlize Theron even asks her at one point, like, what do you do when you're not here? Nothing really, I think, is the response.
So, overall thoughts. I'll let you go first since I don't want to kind of rain on your parade.
No, I'd be keen to hear what you think about it. Like, what your overall thoughts are first, if you don't mind.
No, well, here's a film I didn't expect to have a spoiler section of.
Right.
But we do, which we'll get to later on. And a lot of my kind of problems with it are tangential to that, kind of where the film goes, in the last act or so.
Okay.
They make a choice that kind of retroactively changes things that you've seen already. Now, like at the end of it, it's like it all makes sense and stuff, and it's quite a fun little way of looking at things, and it validates the themes of the movie in a really kind of profound, kind of bittersweet, sad way. I think. Mm-hmm. But for a lot of it, I was watching it being like, this seems too strange. This seems like people are making decisions that seem not like a decision a human being would make. Okay. And like, I was like, a lot of times I wasn't sure what kind of film I was watching, like whether it was supposed to have like a kind of a darker edge to it, or maybe even like a kind of a fantasy edge to it, like, because so much of it is like Charlize Theron comes off at the beginning seeming like a kind of a normal stressed mother housewife.
Okay. Yeah.
And you get little hints that she maybe has like a kind of a bit of a wicked sense of humor at points. I mean, she's talking to her kids, she'll make like kind of risky jokes, and her husband will be like, don't listen to mum, she's
Yeah.
So you get the hint that she has a personality, but it's kind of been
stifled a little
beaten
bit.
down a wee bit, by this life. So I was like, are we going to like find out that there's something else going on with her or whatever, or like there was all these little hints that there was something else going on, and that kind of nagged at me the whole time because I wasn't sure if it was in my imagination or if there was something else going on with the film.
So you found the film, like, you found that the way that the film had framed that distracted you from
absolutely
the film itself?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Like,
I found quite the opposite in that regard, in that the fact that there was that sort of tonal inconsistency where it had a dark humor to it, and there was that little question of like, I wonder where this is going, or if it's going anywhere at all.
Yeah.
And either way would have been fine with me, I think. But it made me cling on to the film that bit more and really want to know. I found it engaged me more, the fact that it was so ambiguous with a few things and in its tone, like you say.
I can understand that. Maybe had I known that going in, it wouldn't have been at the forefront of my mind the whole time. But yeah, like you said, I found it quite distracting. And I'm not sure if that, I don't want to call it a risk, that sounds like a bit too dramatic, but I don't know if that choice is worthwhile for the kind of, I guess, satisfying payoff you get, if it's worthwhile keeping me on the hook of being like, I don't know if I'm going to like this or not, almost the entire way through the film. Because like there is kind of, like there's a recurring, like a dream sequence type thing with like a mermaid.
Which I loved.
And I was like, okay, that's a bit strange, and it's the only kind of overtly strange thing in the movie for a long time. And I was like, is this, is she a mermaid? Like, what's going on here?
Did you not? I think you're looking at it a tad too literally.
Well, yes, like she's not a mermaid. It's nothing that wacky. But that is what I was thinking. You know?
Did you not find though that every time it came back to those sort of mermaid dream sequences that you'd forgotten that they were even a thing? So when they came back,
I was thinking about it the whole time.
Oh,
like
okay.
Trying to piece everything together.
I think I'd maybe like sort of sunk into the movie more, and I just was letting it take me on the ride. And I think you were probably. It sounds like you had like questions racing through your brain that you were like, answer this. You need to answer this. Whereas every time I got to a mermaid sequence, if you want to call them that, I was like, oh yeah, these bits. What does this mean again? This is a little mysterious. Interesting. But like it never occurred to me, like every time the next one came up I wasn't like, oh yeah, like of course this is this grand mystery that's been following me through the film. I kept forgetting that they were a thing, but in a way I think the film kind of left enough of a gap between, you know, every recurring moment that it's sort of like expected maybe that the audience will just sort of go, I'll come back and think about that later.
I guess like the kind of the strangeness of it and the idea that there's something you're not getting is so tied to the two central characters that I could never fully get on board with them, because there was always an element of like, there's something I don't know about you.
But does that mean that you can't enjoy the film because you need to know everything about the characters? Like, that's surprising to me. Like, it's like saying like a film has to have 100% likable characters for you to enjoy a film, or a film has to have 100% understandable and comprehensible characters to totally immerse yourself in the film. Do you not find sometimes when a character has these like maybe tonal inconsistencies or just something that's not quite adding up as a logical, in a kind of logical way, that it can sometimes immerse you more? Maybe perhaps not in this case for yourself, but do you find that every single film has to have those kind of characters with 100% of who they are and what they're about is laid out on the table for you?
No, like
okay.
There are times obviously when that's fine. Like one thing I kind of get criticised by like friends of mine who like films and stuff and TV shows. I'm quite a big supporter of the whole J.J. Abrams mystery box thing. Like,
okay,
I agree that the unknown, the mystery is more satisfying than the answers. Like, I like a movie that doesn't spoon feed you everything. I like something that is ambiguous.
Sure. That
doesn't have, a definite, the xenomorphs were, this and that type ending.
The Star Wars prequel-y type idea, where every single thing needs a backstory to explain it, which is ridiculous.
I like the hint that the storyteller knows the answer, but it's not so important that he has to tell you the answer. But there's enough there for you to put it together if you want.
Okay.
Now this, I guess, in retrospect, there is enough there that I could have worked out what was going on. But it just didn't seem like that kind of movie from the get-go. Mm-hmm. Like, it felt like a kind of a straightforward character drama. Mm-hmm. And then, so to have this kind of, just this weird uncertainty, this discomfort with thinking, am I wrong for, like, not fully being on board with these people? Or are they badly written? Are they doing things that contradict what I assume they should be doing?
Sure, I'll just jump in there. They are not badly written. That's for sure. I think the characters are but I know what you mean. You're kind of questioning like why were you not clicking somehow, and that's totally cool. I think for me, these things made me like when it was elevated beyond just a character drama, if you like. I was really enjoying the film, and it was those kind of weirder moments that made me kind of perk up and go, all right, like what have you got for me here, film? And honestly, by that reveal at the end, I was really emotionally impacted by it. I thought this is just wow! I didn't see it coming. It was an incredible just an incredibly emotional climax.
Like without spoiling anything, the scene with the waitress thing, that just felt so out of character and just not something like a real person would do to me. And I was like, I don't like this at all. Like this.
I think you underestimate how weird and kinky people can be, Alan. Like, I think it is the kind of thing that when you see the relationship that Charlize Theron and her husband have, it's a loving relationship. It's not the typical Hollywood relationship where the husband is sort of tired of the kids and that's why he's playing his Xbox every night. He's playing his Xbox every night and she's sitting on her iPad every night, but they don't hate each other or dislike each other. They've maybe just had a wee bit of the wind knocked out of them because life is, pretty tough. And, that kind of, scene that you're talking about, it felt maybe a little out of left field, but it felt right to me. Like, the way that they played it, it felt like this is something that this nanny character would do, and that Charlize Theron and her have this trust built up at that point, where you do feel that this is something these characters would do. Obviously, it's sort of, if you want to say, retconned a little when we find out the reality of everything. And that, to me, makes that moment even stronger.
Like I say, in retrospect, knowing the ending and stuff, all of it makes sense and all of it works and it's all well done. But in the moment, I was like, I expected that scene in particular to take a very kind of sinister turn.
It almost did, didn't it? Because the next morning, he's sort of like, should we talk about what happened last night? And now in a regular movie, that's going to cause friction between the couple.
Yeah.
And Charlize Theron's character has this wonderful line near the start where she says, like, a night nanny. That just sounds like something where a young girl's going to come in and, like, ostracize me from the family and I'm going to be walking on a cane at the end of the movie. Yeah. Like, one of these old slasher movies. And it felt like that was the moment where, in a sort of, a much lesser movie, the husband is going to fall in love with the younger girl and run off with her and leave Marlowe with the 3 kids.
Yeah. Which is kind of what I was expecting.
But I'm glad they didn't do that because, of course, I'm glad they didn't even go near that. And the husband actually was just like, it was great. But again, knowing what we know at the end, it's an even more touching moment because
absolutely is, yes. But...
And I don't think you're saying that you're not saying that the ending, you're actually saying like the ending, improved things for you in some regard. Can I ask, based on the way that it ends, we'll get to in a minute, I guess, are you tempted to see it again and watch it from those, like, another pair of eyes? Because I can't wait to see it again, but I don't know. I know that you liked it, but didn't really like it or love it. Would you be keen to see it again now, like, without that, or with that dramatic irony where you actually have more knowledge than you're supposed to have, if you like?
Well, I'm in no rush to see it again.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was presented with it, like, yeah, there would definitely be reason to watch it again. Because it would be like watching a different movie.
It would, wouldn't it?
Especially for me, who was so on edge the whole time, feeling like I wasn't getting something.
Whereas you found the payoff at the end was a stronger part of the movie? Or it made something about the movie resonate more with you?
Well, it made me understand it.
Okay.
But maybe, like, this is my question, like, is it worth potentially alienating the viewer for the entirety of the film to have that payoff, or like, yeah. was it a necessary? Was it the only way to tell that story?
I think it was a really smart way to tell the story, and I think it was. I just can't see it alienating that many people in the audience. I can't see that many people overthinking it in the way that it sounds like maybe you were overthinking it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I get it. But I when you say is it worth alienating the audience, I just don't think it's alienating that many people. But I don't know. I'd love to have taken like an exit poll in the screen that I was in to find out. It's just going back to the mermaid stuff before we go on from that. I read a really interesting like a short interview on /film with Jason Reitman. They were just asking him a few things about some of the things in the movie, particularly the mermaid thing came up, and he wasn't entirely sure about it, but he'd spoken to Diablo Cody about it, and she had explained that a lot of women, when they go through like postpartum depression, will describe it as being feeling like they're drowning or they're stuck in water. So that whole stuff with the mermaids was very much related to her experiences of talking to women who'd gone through postpartum depression. So it's very symbolic of all those feelings through a really cinematic way. And I think when I read that, it made me appreciate that so much more again, just understanding where the writer was coming from. Because it's such a sort of abstract, ethereal moment that you could read so many different things into it. But, you know, knowing the writer's basic sort of idea for framing it like that, it just made me appreciate it all the more. I don't know if you...
One of the things I've got written down as a talking point is representation. And by that, I did mean that age of women and that kind of common life experience for women. I've never seen kind of done this honestly, and this kind of like there's no kind of no frills or bells and whistles to it. It's very
like warts and all, isn't it?
Very stark portrayal of like there's sequences that are so well edited that show you how stressful her life is.
Yeah, there's a particularly strong kind of montage moment at the start that just goes through the routine, and that routine, when you start to realise, is what's stopping her from fulfilling these dreams that she thought she had, and that kind of idea. That I agree that the editing in the film is so snappy. Yeah,
that stuff is really good. And I imagine if you are a mother, it's probably really, really resonant with you.
I think I don't know. Like I'm there's that danger of saying like, oh, this film isn't for me because I'm not a mother. Like, in the same way you could say like Trainspotting isn't for me because I've never tried heroin. It's like I get what you're saying. I think there will be that extra level of resonance for a lot of parents.
That's more what I mean. Like, obviously, anyone can empathise and
or sympathise rather than perhaps empathise.
Most people can. You would hope can sympathise.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you are like have the shared experience with the characters, like it's gonna stick with you in a way that it might not necessarily with me.
Yeah. My friend Ali has got a 1.5-year-old or coming up for 2, I think, and they are expecting in the next this month, in fact, their second. And congratulations indeed, Ali, from Alan. And I said to him, like, you guys have to try and catch this movie. I think because of what you said, I think it will resonate so much with, just not in a negative way. I just mean like they'll be watching it from that point of view of new parents. And I can't think of a movie that might speak to the just some of the things maybe he's spoken to me about being a father for the first time and just those natural human, fears and expectations, and also all the real positive stuff as well. It's all in this film.
I don't think the positive stuff really comes through until the end, and I don't know that I would recommend this to someone who is currently going through it. Maybe someone who has lived it.
I don't know. I think you just have to look at the way she relates to her kids and the way they have this, like, okay, like, she is going through some shit, but she's not resigning her son to like this life of, oh, he's autistic, so he has to go to this special school and he's not like other kids. She's fighting for her son, and her and her husband are helping their kids, and they're talking to them, particularly her. She kind of talks to them like adults and treats them in a kind of way that a lot of mothers maybe don't. I don't know. For me, it felt like there was a real positivity in there to the relationship, but there's obviously other stuff going on in her life that's maybe getting in the way of that. And like you say, I suppose towards the end, there is that turn where like she has a lovely moment with her son, that kind of heals some of the wounds that maybe have come up. But in the way she reacts when the head teacher's trying to tell her that her son's quirky, to me is just like a loving mother fighting for her son and not wanting to be told like, your son is like different to everyone else, so you have to do something different to everyone else. I don't know. Am I making a clear point there? I don't know.
Like, I think it's more that if you were going through that, to see someone else also going through it, and for a lot of the movie to be like the message just being, this is very difficult.
Like, be prepared for your life to be completely wrecked.
Yeah, and like, it's never explicitly said, but there is a theme of the movie is longing for your life when it wasn't this, when it was more your own,
Yeah, there's a lovely scene between Marlowe and Tully where Marlowe sort of mourns for the fact that her life isn't as exciting and interesting anymore, and is envious of Tully, got her whole life in front of her, and Tully says like, you're boring. That's perfect. Your life is absolutely perfect. It's boring and nothing happens, but that's the safe space that you need for your kids. So it's like they envy one another, and I don't know whether maybe we want to get into spoiler territory here if we're getting into that, or
Yeah, we can do. The only other thing I've got written down is I guess I expected it to be a bit more funny than it was. Maybe I went in with the wrong expectations, but I don't think it was it wasn't funny, but it didn't seem like it was trying to be very funny.
I think that's what made it work for me all the more. I know that I sound so contrarian to everything you're saying, but honestly, like I found the humor just perfectly pitched to the point where I chuckled quite merrily throughout the whole thing and laughed out loud at a few moments. But in fairness, the audience around me, there were a few moments where I laughed louder than other people, put it that way, and felt a little bit awkward about it. But I think it's sort of like in their partnership, the Diablo Cody, Jason Reitman thing. Have you seen Juno and Young Adult?
I've just seen Juno.
Sure.
So you can imagine why I thought it was going to be funnier.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen Juno right enough, but Young Adult is kind of on a similar sort of dark tone, with Charlize Theron in that one as well. So, I don't know, man. I think that's just the tone of their script and directorial partnership. And for me, it worked perfectly as a sort of dark comedy, but also as a piece about family and parenthood.
So we're going to talk kind of briefly about the end of the movie right now. We'll put in the show notes the time codes to skip from and to. So, sorry for talking around it so much. I imagine that was frustrating if you've not seen the film.
But if you've not seen the film, then go and see the film, because it's awesome and it needs more people to go and see it.
So the thing we were dancing around is this girl comes to Charlize Theron's house and helps her. She's the nanny.
Played by Mackenzie Davis.
Yeah. And funnily enough, when she first kind of walked in, Charlize Theron looks at her and kind of looks up and down, and she's kind of dressed like, she's got a midriff showing. She's like kind of got, long, beautiful blonde hair, and she's like kind of free spirited. Yeah. And I thought to myself, oh, the idea is that she's like a younger version of Charlize Theron, and she's going to make her
remember herself. Yeah.
So literally, that is what the twist is, that Charlize Theron has just imagined this nanny, and it's in her head, and she is literally herself, maybe 15 years younger.
When you say she's literally just imagined her, it's really it's been a breaking point of like severe depression in the character.
It's like a coping mechanism she's developed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a moment at the end where her and Tully decide to go out for a drink and go out and get drunk. It's a strange moment, but this is where Tully reveals that she's going to have to leave this, like, really what's up until now been really harmonious for the Marlowe character. She's like gotten her life back together. Everyone in the family is like, wow, she's so much better now that she's got this night nanny in her life. And then the night nanny, Tully, tells her, I need to leave now. Like, I need to leave you. I've got other things I need to do. This was just a stopgap. And
again, very Mary Poppins.
Very much so, yeah. And she's like, you can't leave, I need you. And then she ends up crashing the car on the way home. Cut to, essentially, she's pulled out of the car by a mermaid, who is Tully, pulling her out of the car, pulling her out of her postpartum depression, you might say. And this is what essentially the reveal is, that in the hospital, she is in the bed. Tully is nowhere to be seen. The doctor is asking her husband if she's got a history of mental illness. The husband explains, well, she had a little bit of depression, I think, after the birth of their son, who's the second child. But no, she's been great. She's had this night nanny. And then we as the audience have clicked. He's never really, no one's seen this night nanny, really.
Yeah.
When
the fact that she's not in the hospital with her when she was also in the car crash was when I realised that, oh, she's a figment of her imagination.
And it's trickling you along, and you think maybe she's, ended up a lot worse and she's in intensive care somewhere else, or, no, it's definitely, this is what it is. It was, for me, that moment to realise that she's created this, as you say, a coping mechanism to deal with, like, a depression and a stress that's been building up to the point where it's the only way to deal with it is to basically embrace a younger version of herself to help her current self. And then we get these flashback moments a la Fight Club, I suppose, where you see her doing the activities that we thought Tully had done, like baking the cupcakes in the middle of the night.
Yeah, well, that part really worked well for me because, so Charlize Theron, when she's imagining Tully, she goes to bed, Tully stays up and cleans the house and bakes cookies for the kids in the morning.
Does all the things that the good mums do.
Like, does all these,
Charlize Theron,
really, wonderful, stressful, hard work things. And then you realise at the end that no, Charlize Theron has just been doing that all herself. She's been working herself to the bone. To essentially nearly death. Yeah, to the point where she has this breakdown.
Yep.
So that kind of stuff really works.
I agree. Yeah.
And yeah, the point where you find this out is when her husband's in the hospital and has asked for her maiden name, and he says her maiden name is Tully.
Yeah.
Then you realise, oh, okay, that makes sense. And there's little hints all the way through, like Tully at one point is complaining about how she's like kind of fell out with her roommate, and she's describing her relationship with her roommate and stuff. And then later on, Charlize Theron mentions how she used to have this roommate as well, who was like...
We actually meet the roommate earlier in the film. She's going out of a coffee shop.
Oh shit, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, so that was the
right,
roommate.
yeah.
And there's a hint that they had some kind of, perhaps a sexual relationship as well.
That as well, yeah, because there's always the kind of an almost sexual tension between Tully and Charlize Theron's character.
And there's a moment later in the film before they go home where she wants to go to the old building to see her old apartment and to see her old roommate, and says she is going to love you. Like, you know, she's going to like find you really attractive. And there is this, like, I think the roommate looks very surprised when she sees that Marlo has obviously put on a lot of weight as well since then, and is, you know, and is heavily pregnant. Yeah. I believe Charlize Theron put on 50 pounds for this role. Talk about like
the first time she's done that. You
dedication to the craft, man.
But yeah, you can understand why with all these things, like, I was kind of so on edge for a lot of it, because the scene I was talking about was Marlo is saying that she once bought a diner waitress uniform to like kind of like role play with her husband, because that's like a sexual fantasy of his. Yep. And she said she just never got around to doing it.
And then it wouldn't fit her anymore because it's
So then Tully's like, well, show it to me, like, you know, then maybe I'll put it on. And then she does. She puts it on, and then they both go upstairs, like acting like it's the most normal thing in the world, and they both get into bed with the husband. And like
he looks a little surprised,
yeah.
And so as the audience, we're supposed to say, yeah, he no doubt he would be surprised, but
and then it's implied that they have a threesome that night, and then the next morning he's like, "Are we going to talk about it?"
That was amazing,
yeah.
But of course, when you look back on it, he's actually surprised because they don't really have much of a sex life. It's implied that you know they just sort of lead separate night lives where they care for each other, but they just aren't intimate in that way, which I think is very common when couples have gone through, like, I don't actually, if I'm speaking, I'm not exactly speaking from a point of knowledge here, but
kids and stuff,
from what I understand, that could be, so, but what I mean is the relationship isn't, like, completely broken, it's just going through that sort of, difficult spell, maybe, if you want to call it that, but the surprised look, I imagine, in his face, you know, when you find out this twist at the end is, he's just really happy to be reconnecting with his wife. Yeah. And she will like no doubt be wearing that waitress uniform, and it's probably doesn't look great on her according to her, but I'm sure her husband in that scene just seems like the happiest guy to be reconnecting with his wife again.
So like when you look back on it, it's like a really sweet moment.
But at the time,
in the moment, I was like, I was worried like this is going to cause a rift. Tully's going to like try and get with her husband,
and then she's going to kill Marlo, and Marlo's going to end up on a stick, which incidentally Marlo does end up on a walking stick at the end, which she predicts.
Yeah, that's true.
But of course it's due to the car accident as caused by the breakdown. So I like the little callbacks to everything that's happened earlier. You can sort of see little setups and payoffs when she says things like, oh, she's going to like murder me and I'm going to end up, or she's going to try and murder me and I'm going to end up like walking with a stick at the end. And then one of the last shots of the movie, she's like recovering from her accident, walking through the house with a walking stick. Yeah. In, you know, physical therapy after a car accident, I suppose.
Yeah, like, overall, yeah, I liked it, and it does good things, and it has a nice message that you don't often get in movies.
Yeah.
But I thought the journey to get there was fraught.
Okay. No, I accept your point. I don't agree with it as such, but I was really on board with the way the story was being told. I thought the dialogue was so authentic in that, just really, like you said, I alluded to earlier, that really honest, nitty gritty way. The way the characters interacted with each other was just so up my street. It was really what I was looking for in a movie, and then it just elevated itself with the twist, which just made so many things pop into my head about all these moments that have happened throughout the film have just been reborn as sort of a whole nother level of emotional resonance for me. And so by the end, I had bittersweet is a word used earlier. I had the sort of big grin on my face, but at the same time I could feel myself welling up.
Yeah.
So for me, it just worked beautifully in that regard. And yeah, I just think there were some amazing lines of dialogue as well. The one that I've taken a note of here, really stuck out, was when she was telling young Tully, herself essentially, about women not healing. Mm-hmm. And Tully says, we heal just fine. And the line she uses is, we might look like we're all better, but if you look close, we're covered in concealer. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was a really well-delivered, really impactful line. And I thought Charlize Theron's performance was sensational. She's a good actress, but I think this is the best I've seen her. I compare it to her performance in Mad Max Fury Road, and it's actually not that dissimilar in that there's something boiling under the surface that, we maybe never quite see in Mad Max, but we see at the end of this.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely loved it, and I would, say to people, definitely check it out. You might find that the journey to the end is a little bit fraught with issues, but I would hope that you wouldn't. And, I think it's the kind of film you'll probably want to see again to watch from a whole different perspective. Yeah. If you haven't listened to this whole section about spoilers, that is.
So let's talk a little bit about some news stories before we touch on some of the other new releases. You've got here that tickets for Solo, A Star Wars Story, are on sale now.
Yeah, they went on sale on May the 4th.
So, I guess the reason you've got this in is just to kind of talk in general about this movie.
Well, I figured, this is a good topic. Yeah, as good a topic as any, right? It's coming out soon. It's very unusual for a Star Wars movie for the tickets to go on sale so close to release like this. Usually it's a good couple of months before, or then some. This film has only just been locked in. It's really just been finished, and they will be working on that for probably up until 2 or 3 days before release. Yeah, I would just wanted to know your thoughts, I guess.
We will undoubtedly do a whole episode on this when it comes out.
Yeah, it's out here on the 24th of May.
But if you've been following along at all, you know that it's had a really tumultuous production, with the directors being fired months into the filming process.
I think that we can probably essentially say that Lord and Miller, the original directors, were probably fired after they showed their first cut of the movie. I think they probably had finished filming the movie. And I think they showed the first cut to the executives at Lucasfilm, and they basically said, this is not what we want. What do we do here? And they decided to hire someone else to essentially reshoot a whole bunch of the movie. There's been talk that Ron Howard came in and reshot close to 90% of this film.
Yeah. Because a lot of the talk around at the time was, what kind of credit are they going to get on it? Because they shot so much of it, but it seems like he has more or less reshot the entire thing. Yeah,
he said it's a difficult position for him to be in as well, Ron Howard, but he has said their fingerprints are all over it, so there's still elements there.
They get an executive producer and writer credit, I believe.
Okay. I'd love to have seen their cut, because it sounds like they had a cut that was locked in and ready to, they would have probably had some notes, okay, we need some reshoots on this and whatnot, but it sounds like they had a really fraught relationship with Kathleen Kennedy. So, to be honest, I think the trailer is pretty solid.
The second one, I think, is a lot better than the first.
Yeah, agreed. It reminds me, to be honest, and if it's as good as this, I'll be happy. It reminds me of an extended Train Job episode from Firefly. Yeah. Essentially, the plot looks like the Train Job episode in Firefly.
We can only hope.
As good as that, and it's going to be that episode is that a half-hour episode or an hour episode, the Train Job? I seem to remember it being a long episode.
That is the
first episode after the pilot, right?
Yeah, it was the first one they showed on air, though. So
which is really confusing.
Yeah, the pilot is like an hour and a half, and I think all the other episodes are about 45 minutes.
50. So, okay, so you've got to make it as good as that, but in double the time, essentially. Yeah. If it's as good as something like a Firefly, then that's, to me, the best we can hope for.
That is the vibe they should be going for, yeah.
Which, fine. But it sounds like we could all be going in and seeing something like drastically poor, if they haven't had time to quote unquote fix it. It does sound, though, the thing with something like Star Wars or Marvel or DC is they're always safe in some regard, because there's always going to be people who have made up their mind that they love the movie before they've watched the movie.
Yeah.
There's people who will walk out of a surprise screening because they'll say, oh, well, I saw the name of the movie, I don't like films like that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, those same people will say, well, it's a Batman movie, so I know I'm going to love it. So they'll go in and have no qualms about anything that happens on the screen.
Yeah, they'll have no critical thought about the movie at all.
No, because they're going, they don't even think about what's happening on the screen. So I think the thing about Star Wars is there is that contingent of their fan base who will just be happy because they're watching someone with their favourite logo on it.
But, and this is a double-edged sword, because with the fan base comes people with expectations. You look at The Last Jedi, lots of unhappy people because it wasn't the story they thought it was going to be or wanted it to be.
Difficult to gauge how many unhappy people, to be honest, because we're living in an age now where there's like a kind of alt-right movement that's sort of dedicated to debasing, is that maybe the word? Or to spreading a real negativity or a negative vibe about a lot of movies. There was a whole campaign to try and downvote Black Panther because it was a social justice warrior film, and people criticised The Last Jedi. It's all SJW nonsense. It's nothing to do with Star Wars. It's like,
it has a woman in it.
Have you ever watched a Star Wars movie? Like, you know, these are not movies that would be where you're going to get like Donald Trump being the good guy. Like, you know,
I mean, who do you think the Empire are based off of?
Right. I mean, it's made after Vietnam and after Watergate. Like, where is the inspiration for this come from? So, yeah, we're getting off on a tangent here because
absolutely.
It's Star Wars. I mean, you could just talk about Star Wars forever, I guess. But
and I will.
Yeah.
So,
tickets for Solo: A Star Wars Story are on sale. I bought a couple. I'm going with my dad to see it on not the midnight show, but on the opening night at the Cineworld IMAX. Looking forward to checking it out. I mean, I just like to see all kinds of movies. I like to give all movies the benefit of the doubt. So I'm just looking forward to seeing it and seeing what kind of stuff they've got in store.
Well, as an SJW fanboy, Disney cuck, I will be there opening day as well.
Nice. Are you going to a midnight show, or are you just going
Nah,
to...
like, I'm too old.
Do you know what, man? I went to the midnight show of The Last Jedi, and never have I regretted a decision so much. No. I was too old and tired, and I had my work the next day, and I was surrounded by people who wouldn't stop talking.
Yeah. Like, I want to see it as soon as possible, but I also want to see it at, full alertness. I don't want to be falling asleep towards the end.
Agreed.
But yeah, really, really hope it's good. Ron Howard, at worst, makes... Actually, I was going to say just fine movies, but at worst, he makes The Da Vinci Code.
Or In the Heart of the Sea.
Yeah, I never saw that one. Was it no good?
Probably not as bad as Da Vinci Code, I'll give you that, but it wasn't great.
Yeah, he just, like you said, he seems very safe.
Yeah.
Not really a stylistic auteur.
I think what you'll find with somebody, I'm sure the reason they hired someone like Ron Howard is he is a very proficient and experienced director, and he knows how to handle crews. He's been on both sides of the camera. Mm-hmm. He knows the business. He can kind of get things done. They needed someone who could get things done in fucking record quick time.
It seems like as well, from a lot of the stories I've heard, they wanted someone who could follow Kathleen Kennedy's orders.
To be honest, man, I think that's always what they're after right now. It sounds like she, and probably through the fact that Disney have this huge investment in Lucasfilm, I'm sure there are just like a ton of studio notes for people to follow for these movies.
Yeah. You've got here the new Jordan Peele horror movie, Us, has been announced.
It sure has. It's got a few people mentioned in the cast, but I cannot remember now for the life of me who they are.
I imagine the budget he has given for this is several times the budget he was given for Get Out.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. It was really, how do you follow Get Out? Well,
I know, I don't envy his position. Like, is it going to be another kind of social commentary genre piece, or?
Well, it's definitely going to be another horror.
Okay.
The film has been marketed as, I believe it's been marketed as another nightmare from Jordan Peele, or something to that effect.
You know, that's cool. Like, if he's carved out this little niche for himself of like,
absolutely,
like socially conscious,
of a particular genre or subgenre for sure. This is the Elizabeth Moss and Lupita Nyong'o are rumored to be.
Lupita Nyong'o, she is good.
Starring. I really like Elizabeth Moss as well. I saw her recently in the Swedish movie The Square, which was nominated for Best Foreign Picture, or certainly I think it won the Palme d'Or at Cannes last year. She was great in that. And Lupita Nyong'o, awesome actress as well. Did you see her in Queen of Catway, the chess one?
No, I didn't.
That was a cool movie, man.
A Disney live action.
Disney,
it was strange.
A Disney movie about a chess champion in I believe a sub-Saharan African country. I can't remember exactly where. My memory's terrible for yesterday, let alone a movie I saw 2 years ago. But great little movie. So that'll be interesting. I love Get Out. I'll be interested to see what he does with his next film.
Yeah, like I said, I don't envy him. He's, that's a lot to follow up.
Oh, definitely.
Tarantino has cast a bunch more folk in his upcoming Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I feel like we could sit here and talk for about half an hour on that because I think it's, he's an interesting guy. It's an interesting topic.
Yeah.
But we'll leave it for another time.
Sure.
But yeah, Burt Lancaster, Kurt Russell, who's worked with him a few times now.
Yeah.
Tim Roth, a mainstay of the Tarantino verse. They're all in talks to join on, with the existing cast being Leonardo DiCaprio,
Brad Pitt, I believe.
Brad Pitt, yeah.
Yep.
There wasn't someone else.
I'm not sure who's playing Sharon Tate, but
Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, I'm really glad he's getting back to more contemporary crime movies.
Okay.
Like I loved Inglourious Basterds and Django, but Hateful Eight was good, but it wasn't the best he's done. So
I actually think Hateful Eight was one of his best films. I adored Hateful Eight. I loved Inglourious Basterds and Django Unchained as well. There's actually a Django Unchained poster right behind you there.
I'm looking at it right now.
But I think Hateful Eight is one of his masterpieces, and I think it's an unsung masterpiece right now. I think it'll be a 20-year effort where you look back and people will go, why didn't that get the respect it deserved? But I can't wait to see his new film. I'm really interested in the history of that period in Hollywood. That's a period where you've got obviously the Manson murders are going to play a part. And I really like, I don't know if you've ever watched any like Kenneth Anger shorts, like Scorpio Rising. He wrote a book, Hollywood Babylon, which kind of talks about the sort of the real seediness of Hollywood back then and all the secrets and stuff that was going on. There's another documentary coming out later this month or next month about Jane Mansfield and her relationship with Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan. So like all this stuff that was going on in Hollywood in the late 60s is really interesting to me.
Yeah.
It's so different it doesn't seem like it's that way anymore. It seems a lot more sanitized and safe now, but perhaps underneath it it's not. But there's something about that era that I think can make a really interesting kind of crime thriller or whatever it's going to be.
I'm not expecting them to be similar at all, but like Zodiac is like one of my absolute favorite movies.
Oh sure.
Like that time period and that genre. There's just something about it. Like the technology wasn't quite there yet, so it still had this kind of like mystery and like creepy eeriness to it, and did you watch Mindhunter on Netflix?
No, I haven't seen Mindhunter yet. I've actually never watched Zodiac front to back,
God.
and Fincher is one of my favourite directors. I've just never gotten around to Zodiac, and it's not one it's never been on Netflix or Prime or anything since I've been wanting to watch it.
It's one of my favourite movies. It's so good. I'd like to do an episode on Zodiac. I'd like to do an episode on Fincher in general. I'd like to do an episode on Tarantino in general.
If Solo, a Star Wars story is terrible, then we can maybe look at doing an episode on David Fincher's movies or something.
He's my favourite director working today.
But I know I need to check out Mindhunter, so I'll do that as well. But yeah,
it's very similar time setting and themes and stuff.
Great.
And you've got in here. I think this is quite self-indulgent. A wee story about Vertigo.
Oh well, Vertigo, yeah. It came out 60 years ago to the date, and it is the best film ever made.
You're a big Hitchcock fan, aren't you? I'm sure we could do a several hours long episode on Hitchcock.
We could,
with just you talking.
We could. I love Alfred Hitchcock's movies. He made some stinkers in his time, but he made a lot of movies. But yeah, for me, Vertigo is like, it's just the perfect movie in every way. And funnily enough, it's one that I didn't particularly like the first time I watched it.
See, I've only watched it once, and I was a bit younger, I thought it was boring.
Right, you see, I revisit that movie now, knowing a little bit more about film and cinema that you do, and I'd be interested to hear what you think. I just spotted a news story that it was out 60 years ago to the day, and I thought, not to be self-indulgent, but just to alert people to the presence of a wonderful movie. Vertigo, Jimmy Stewart, Kim Novak, incredible psychological drama, really ahead of its time in terms of sort of mental abuse and mentally abusive relationships, and has a very clever twist in the middle of the film which gives away the entire plot to the audience so that we then know more than the main character.
Yeah, Hitchcock was ahead of the game. Like, I mean, see, when you watch Psycho, the last like 10 minutes of Psycho nowadays is kind of laughable because it's basically a man talking to the audience, explaining kind of like.
Oh, you mean like the last 5 minutes?
Yeah.
When he's saying, "Here's what happened to Norman Bates." I think even Hitchcock himself would have preferred not to have that scene in. I think that was the one stipulation, that they had to explain it to an audience at the end.
It's like when Troy McClure's like, "Now ask this scientician." You know,
yeah.
It just seems like so out of place. And
sure. What was your point about that? Or you just want to shit on Hitchcock's
No.
legacy?
Like just that he really was like ahead of his time, and kind of bringing that stuff into like mainstream cinema.
Sure.
Like anything more kind of surface level and more kind of, you know.
Of course, the idea that suspense is not the same as tension. The idea that, you know, suspense is not the same as surprise. So to really have proper suspense, you need to fill the audience in on what's going to happen. They need to know. He always used to talk about the example of a bomb. So if there's a bomb underneath this table we're at right now, if it was just to explode, an audience watching that is going to get 10 seconds of a bit of a fright. And they'll go, wow, wasn't expecting that. If the camera cuts to the bomb and sees it ticking away under the table and cuts back to us having a conversation about nothing really, we're just talking about movies, and then it cuts back at a different angle to that bomb, the audience are worried for us, and then in 10 minutes time, they're thinking, get out of there, that bomb's going to go off. So they know more than the character, and that's what creates really good suspense.
Yeah, like the opening scene of Inglourious Basterds, you would think Tarantino had listened to that story and just said, well, let's replace bomb with Jew.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why that scene works so well.
Yeah, that's a kind of horrible way to put it, but yeah. let's with family hiding.
So moving on to quickly what else I've seen this week in terms of new releases. I saw I Feel Pretty, the new Amy Schumer vehicle.
And how did it make you feel?
Is this where I do my pithy little letterbox line?
Yes.
I felt pretty disappointed. I mean, disappointed is a bad way to put it because I didn't have expectations. I gave it 2 stars on Letterboxd. That was, by the way, we're mentioning Letterboxd all the time. If you don't know what it is, it's a fantastic social media site where you can log, review, and rate films.
This is not a sponsorship. We are not endorsed by Letterboxd.
But we are happy to sell out. It's just a site that me and Andy love, and we use it quite a lot. This is exactly what you think it's going to be. If you're unfamiliar with the plot, do you have a wee synopsis there?
No.
Okay, well, I'll just tell you what it is. It's kind of like a Shallow Hal type situation where Amy Schumer looks like Amy Schumer. She's not, the perfect representation of female beauty or whatever. And she gets hit on the head and then wakes up and believes, when she looks in the mirror, that she believes she is like a perfect, beautiful, skinny toned, like kind of bombshell.
Sure. And why didn't you particularly like it?
So for the first hour or so, it was very predictable and it was doing what I thought it was going to do, but it was like really kind of like well-meaning and kind of good-hearted, like, because she starts out as like as a nice enough person, but she just like has like body issues and stuff, and what she wants to work for this fashion agency, this makeup company.
Sure.
But she's not beautiful, so she can't get a job there. So then when she gets this hit in the head and kind of sees herself differently, she has the confidence of someone who, is beautiful and get whatever they want.
Yeah, who has the stereotypical sort of appearance of what beauty should be.
So she still looks like herself, but she has this confidence.
Sure.
And that alone gets her places because she thinks she is a certain way.
Sure.
And she kind of uses that to try and make other people feel better. Like she ends up getting a job and she tries to like say to them, real women that they don't think like this, they don't think like you, or they don't want the kind of things you want. You have to try and appeal to them. And she still has like a good kind of moral compass in herself, and it's just nice for the first hour to kind of see her feeling good about herself and doing nice things.
How does it go off the rails?
Well, it turns into like a kind of poor version of Mean Girls or The Devil Wears Prada, where she,
Goes to her head.
Yeah, she becomes the thing she initially hates and stuff, and then it ties itself up, way too quickly, in exactly the way you think it's gonna.
Okay.
With a nice message of, looks aren't all that important, blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like it's got it's on point in terms of the message.
But it's like it doesn't do anything original or particularly insightful. Like there's a lot of like little bits that kind of seeds in throughout the movie to give you the hint that there's something deeper to it. Like, stereotypical beautiful characters will kind of talk for a second about what it is what their own insecurities are, stuff. But it doesn't focus on any of that sort of stuff. It's more just kind of racing to get to this end conclusion, which is, treat people nice no matter what they look like.
I can get behind that message. But
it's a nice message, but it's not funny and it's not original.
Yeah.
So
fair dues, man. So not great.
Not great, no. You saw Rampage?
Yeah, man, I saw Rampage. I had a headache about halfway through this movie.
That's the way to watch it.
It would not go away. I was willing this movie to end. Actually, I think about 10 minutes to go, they kept talking, and I was like, wrap this fucking thing up already. I turned to my friend Andy that I was with, and I was like, they need to stop this. They need to stop it now. We were both laughing quite a lot throughout the film, right enough, at just how ridiculous so much of it was. So we got a bit of entertainment from that. I was kind of just hoping it'd be a bit more kind of colourful and fun than it was. I found it really drab and grey and dreary. It looked like their CG budget ran out about halfway through the film, because there was some really impressive stuff. It was the moment when they had to combine the humans being on screen with the mutated animals. So it's based on the old arcade Rampage game, which is ridiculous in and of itself. I like The Rock. I like Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I think he's a charismatic guy. He's been in some fun movies. I really enjoyed Central Intelligence with Kevin Hart, and Jumanji also with Kevin Hart.
Yeah, Jumanji was very good.
It's a little pattern there. As long as Kevin Hart's with him, he's better maybe. But no Kevin Hart in this film. So The Rock's charisma was good. It kind of carried it to an extent, but it just kind of it didn't keep the whole thing afloat. It kind of petered out. I also gave that one 2 stars on my Letterboxd review. I believe you saw it when it first came out and probably liked it a little bit more than I did.
I liked it a little bit more. Much in the same way as I Feel Pretty. It was exactly what I expected it to be.
I don't know. I was hoping it would just be a bit brighter and more fun. It was a bit too, like I say, just a little bit too grey and bland and headache fucking inducing for me.
Yeah, that couldn't have helped. I thought it was...
I didn't get a headache for any reason other than the film. The film gave me the headache with its extremely loud DC-esque action sequences. So
I thought it was self-aware enough to kind of win me over.
Yeah,
it's all done with a wink and a nod of being like...
Some of the actors are really going for it, chewing that scenery, just hamming it up. But yeah.
Mary and the Witch's Flower. Tell us about that.
So this is the first feature from Studio Ponnock. We didn't get this right last week. You were like, it's Ponyo, isn't it? It was either Ponnock or Ponyock. Founded by the producer Yoshiaki Nishimura, who produced Tales of Princess Kaguya and When Marnie Was There, 2 of the kind of later Ghibli films.
Weren't they also 2 of the less well-received ones?
I've not seen The Tale of Princess Kaguya, but I understand that got really well received. That was the director of Grave of the Fireflies, who passed away recently.
Maybe I'm misremembering.
When Marnie Was There was pretty good as well, but I don't know about critical appraisal. I liked it a lot. This one I actually saw at Cineworld. They were showing the dubbed English version as well as the subtitled Japanese. I wanted to see a movie on a Sunday morning, so I went and checked it out, and it happened to be the dubbed one that was showing. It is about a sort of loner girl who finds sort of magic flowers out in the forest. She's sort of staying with her great aunt, and there's an indication that her parents aren't really on the scene, or they're too busy to look after her. It's based on an old children's book called The Little Broomstick from the 1970s. It's an English story, similar to When Marnie Was There, which is based on an English story, as was The Secret World of Ariete, which is based on The Borrowers, which this director also did. So this director has also worked on Ghibli productions as well as this one. The director is Hiromasa Yonebayashi. It's for a studio that have got these kind of intimate ties to Ghibli. It has the kind of beautiful artwork and beautiful animation that you'd expect. Some of the sort of matte paintings or the backgrounds are stunning. The first act is really fun and it really kind of introduces you to this character of Mary. who's this like loner girl. She doesn't have any friends. She's starting a new school. It's the typical sort of kid that's sort of starting a whole new life.
I feel like that's the way every Goosebumps book starts.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Just
yeah.
moved to a new town. Yeah.
But it was really beautifully done and great. I think the film lost me a little bit in the middle. It started to become really repetitive. So she basically gets powers to become a witch through these magic flowers that she finds, and she finds a broomstick, and that broomstick is imbued with that magic power that she has from the flower. She ends up out at a sort of magic academy where they want her to enroll because she's got all this magical power. But it turns out that the sort of headmistress and the chief scientist that she's talking to, who are voiced by Kate Winslet and Jim Broadbent in the English version, quite well voiced, but the characters just aren't. I wasn't on board with the way the characterization was done with them, and it kind of lost me a little bit. The story was kind of repetitive, where she was kind of going back and forward and back and forward. And for like a 90 or 100-minute movie, it felt like longer than that, which is a shame. I just think the first act was so good that the rest couldn't quite live up to it, but it was still a really solid movie. And I think there were a few young kids watching it in the theatre I was at, and the kids seemed to be really enjoying it. So it's a film that is made for kids and families more than like a 30-odd-year-old schlubby guy that wants to go and watch a movie on a Sunday morning because he's got nothing else to do. So it was fine. It wasn't like the masterpiece that I was, some of the Ghibli stuff I absolutely love, and this wasn't on a par with stuff like Grave of the Fireflies or Spirited Away, but it was a really solid entry, and it's a brand new studio. This is their very first film, and I think if they carry on with the same kind of ambition and integrity that they've shown with this, I think they'll probably make some really cool stuff.
Cool, good to hear. And taking a swift left turn, the final new release that you saw this week was The Strangers Pray at Night. You didn't see it this week. You saw it a few weeks ago at the Odeon Cinemas Scream Unseen.
Yeah, it was crap.
I mean, do you want to just leave it there? Because I know you don't have much to say about it other than
it was crap. It was a total rip-off of many better kind of John Carpenter-esque horror films. There was one sequence towards the end, which a lot of people who are giving it really positive reviews I've seen floating around from people on Letterboxd again. They talk about this one scene and how it's so great, and it's the reason the movie's so great. For me, it's the reason the movie, I didn't walk out the fucking movie, because there's a really good scene in a swimming pool with a Belinda Carlisle song playing in the background, and all these kind of tiki umbrellas everywhere. It's all this really...
Is this the scene that you said to me reminded you of the kind of the end of It Follows?
Yeah, it was a little bit like that. It was more so as well just because it was creative and interesting, but it felt like the director had just called in sick that day and somebody else had directed that sequence.
It Follows a much better movie, it should be said.
Well, you've not seen The Strangers Pray at Night, so...
I'll take your word for it.
I think you're well within your rights to make the assumption that it's a better movie, because It Follows a cracking movie. This was just, for me, it was a poorly acted, poorly directed horror film that, I saw it a few weeks ago, like you said. It came out just there this week.
Yeah.
I can't imagine I would have remembered it any more fondly had I seen it more recently. I just can't really remember much about it because it was just
even when you first saw it and we were talking about it, you didn't have much to say other than you thought it was unoriginal and unenjoyable.
It was bland and boring and just all those kind of negatives that you just don't want. I saw it at the Odeon with the lovely comfy seats though, so I was stretched out, having a lovely time, just relaxing.
Yeah.
I would have much preferred something else to be it beamed onto my eyes for that hour and a half though.
I'm lucky enough that is my local cinema. It's one of the new Lux cinemas, so it's all...
So that's where it's not where you saw Tully though, right?
No, I had to go to the one in Braehead to see that. But yeah, being that that's such a nice cinema now, I kind of resent when they're not showing the film I want, because
you have to go to regular seats now. Yeah.
I can't even lie down and watch this movie. What is this?
Yeah, I don't have a full leather recliner.
Yep. So next week there's quite a lot out across the different kind of multiplexes and more artsy cinemas. There's Breaking In with Gabrielle Union. Is that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Doesn't look very good.
Nope.
Entebbe.
Yeah, Entebbe. It's also called 7 Days in Entebbe in the States. This is with Daniel Bruhl and Rosamund Pike. It's the thriller about the hijacking.
I saw the trailer for this, and I had no kind of awareness of this real life event.
Me neither. It's way before our time, though, right enough. But in fairness, the film has been getting very poor reviews across the board. It's been out for a while in the States and elsewhere. I'm actually going to see it on Friday night, though, so I'll report back next week.
Speaking of getting poor reviews, How to Talk to Girls at Parties is out.
I was under the impression it was supposed to be pretty good, but I haven't.
Well, just going by Rotten Tomatoes, it's about 30% right now. It's not
for
great.
reals. Okay, yeah. I did not see that. It's based on a Neil Gaiman short story.
Yeah. Like the premise sounded interesting enough to me, but I don't know.
Elle Fanning, she's a good actress.
Yeah,
really like her. It was supposed to be shown at the Glasgow Film Festival, but I didn't get a chance to see it because I had a ticket for it, but then we had the Beast from the East snowstorm.
Oh God, yeah.
Which cancelled a couple of days of that film festival. So I was keen to see it, but I'll probably try and catch it before next week.
Life of the Party, the new Melissa McCarthy movie, is out.
Yep, that just looks like another Melissa McCarthy vehicle.
I think I'll maybe skip that one.
Enjoy.
Redoubtable.
Yeah, this is the director of The Artist, Michael Hazanavicius. It's a movie about a short spell between in Jean-Luc Godard's life. It's about Jean-Luc Godard and his relationship with one of his actresses around the time that he started getting uber political and making like crazy communist films. I'm not a big fan of Jean-Luc Godard's films at all. I find them tiresome and difficult to get through. And I have not heard the best things about this film, but some people seem to say it's worth checking out. And The Artist was a great film.
What's Revenge? It seems like a very generic title.
Revenge is an 18-rated revenge film, but I don't know much more about it. It's showing at one of the Cineworlds here at Silverburn, not at the big one in town though.
That's strange.
And it's showing at the GFT. So I might try and catch it, but I don't really know a lot about it. I just know it's out.
Sherlock Gnomes.
Yeah, the long-awaited sequel to Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, I mean, no matter how much I love Emily Blunt, I'm not going to go and see this movie.
No, it's not one for me either, but it comes out this week. So.
Fun fact: the original Romeo and Juliet was the first time I ever fell asleep on shift while working in the cinema.
Wow!
I was sitting in the back of that movie waiting for it to finish.
That's yeah.
Woken up by a customer as we were leaving.
An angry customer.
The Good Night is out. I don't know what that is. You've written it down here.
What? What is that?
And something called The Cured.
Oh yeah, The Cured is the
sequel to the Robert Smith band.
That's right. The Cured is a zombie one, but again, it's not been getting the best reviews, and it was playing at Glasgow Film Festival as well. So got Ellen Page in it, and it's an Irish film.
Huh.
An Irish zombie film with Ellen Page. The Good Night is the last film to feature a lead role from John Hurt.
Oh, right, okay.
I don't really know a great deal about it, but I believe it's his last performance,
cool.
and that is out this week in limited release.
The other thing that's out next week, we'll hopefully just get to see it before we record, is Deadpool 2.
From the studio who brought you 27 Dresses.
Yeah, the studio that killed Wolverine. Yeah. They've done a really good job with the marketing. I know some people think it's a bit obnoxious, but I think they do a really good job of.
It's what it's all about.
Yeah. So yeah, it's previewing on Tuesday. So ideally, next week's show will be a review of that, amongst maybe some of the other things we just mentioned.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to it. I rewatched the first Deadpool recently.
It's on Netflix just now, so I may watch it tonight. Yeah, it's probably worth checking out because it's been a while since I've seen it. Really liked the first one.
Yeah.
Knew nothing about it, enjoyed it a lot when I saw it. So yeah, looking forward to this a lot. Yeah. Much more expectations riding on this one for everyone because they enjoyed the first one so much and took a shit ton of money for a film like that.
Yeah, but like the first one was, it wasn't a surefire thing.
No.
And it was still pretty out there.
Yeah.
So I imagine now that they have the confidence. Just how much more will they push the boat out with this one? That's what I'm excited to see.
And hopefully more. Yeah.
And
hopefully. If we don't get a chance to see Deadpool, then we will bring you a full review of Sherlock Gnomes next week instead.
If you want to get in touch with us, you can find us at CinematicPod on Twitter. You can send us emails to cftppod@gmail.com. I'm Super Disco Bacon on Twitter and on letterboxd.com. Andrew is the Technogoat on Twitter and Technogoat on Letterboxd.
That's right.
You really should try and get them to be the same. One has a the, one doesn't have a the.
I don't come up with usernames to please you, Alan, but I'll certainly look into it.
Okay, well, thanks for listening. come back next week when we'll talk about Ryan Reynolds' balls.
You're so funky.